Welcome to Spotlight Sessions, where we shine a
What's
light
your
on
story?
incredible. What does accessibility mean to you?
What's your mission? Welcome all to accessiBe's Spotlight Sessions, where we shine a light on incredible individuals and organizations and the work that they do. I'm your host, Josh Basil. I'm a C4-5 quadriplegic, paralyzed below my shoulders, and a power wheelchair user. I'm the Community Relations Manager at accessiBe and a passionate disability rights advocate and trial attorney focused on breaking down barriers to access and inclusion for people with disabilities. Today on accessiBe Spotlight Sessions, we're joined by Wayne Connell, the founder, president, and CEO of Invisible Disabilities Association. Welcome, Wayne.
Oh, thank you so much, Josh.
I'm excited to have you on today and to share more about your story and the incredible work that you're doing. So let's dive into it. Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm a native Coloradan out here in the great state of Colorado. Love it out here. Grew up out here. Really kind of a techie by background. Love technology. And really my story changed. I was managing an electronics store, and a young woman walked into my store and into my heart, as I would like to say. Her name is Sherri, and what I soon learned is that Sherri, at the age of 27, was diagnosed with primary progressive multiple sclerosis, and at 28 with Lyme disease, which we can actually trace back to when she was bitten by a tick about 14 years before. And we got married in 94, and here we are over 28 years later. It's just been an incredible journey.
Love is a beautiful thing. And so I guess that is what I wanted to ask you, what motivated you? So what motivated you to found the Invisible Disabilities Association, and
Yeah.
talk about kind of the organization, what you guys are doing?
Yeah, so very much Sherri is very much the inspiration. In fact, in 1996, she coined the phrase invisible disabilities. And we would park in accessible parking. She wasn't in a wheelchair on a regular basis. And people would scream at us. They're like, either you're not a senior or you're not in a wheelchair. You shouldn't be parking there. And for them not knowing that from head to toe, she was in pain all the time, brain fog, fatigue, unable to work, right? At the age of 27. I mean, she was just devastated. She was a musical theater major, an actress, a model. She had a couple college degrees, and no longer able to work. And so we launched the organization in 96, took some of her writings. She wrote one of her first pamphlets was on accessible parking. It was called Don't Judge by Appearances. I took some of those writings. I'm, like I said, being a techie, I said, well, let's put up a website. In 97, we launched the website, and we had 20,000 people a month come to the site. And if you really give you context, that was a year before Google went online. Google didn't have it until 98. So what I found out is that people with disabilities were early adopters of the internet. They were trapped in their homes, and all of a sudden they had this window to the world that they didn't have before. And we just took some of her writings. We wrote the kind of a landmark book called But You'll Look Good in 1998. Actually, this is our 25th year for this book. And it was about what to say and what not to say. And that's what people said. They said, you put into words what we've been trying to tell our friends and family, and they didn't believe us because they couldn't see it.
Well, having that disability etiquette and being able to have those teaching moments, it's disability and just getting comfortable with disability. It's sometimes you need to learn from others in the community on how to do it right, and what is kind of the different names or how people want to be identified. It's tough to know exactly how to do it right without kind of learning from the community itself.
Right. Well, and so we focus on things, we think about the wheelchair. I mean, obviously you're in a wheelchair, and there's assumptions we make about a wheelchair. Well, we make assumptions about somebody who's not in a wheelchair, and we sometimes it can be the opposite, right? Versus how it's impacting. Sometimes people in wheelchairs may say, "Hey, I don't need your help. In Colorado, you can ski, you can sled hockey, you can basketball. There's a lot of amazing things people can do in wheelchairs. But what if they have chronic fatigue, or what if they have pain, or those things?" So a lot of times people with invisible disabilities, they are unable to, and they need your help, but they're afraid to ask for it because people don't believe them. And so what we've really tried to do is our big thing is to get people to believe people. They share their story, and then all of a sudden you disregard and go, well, yeah, I'm tired too, or you look good, like the name of our book. Well, but you look good.
Can you dive a little bit deeper into different types of invisible disabilities and just kind of teach the audience a little bit more about?
Right. So invisible disability is really a symptom of the illness or disability. It can be a debilitating pain, fatigue, dizziness, cognitive functions, brain injury, learning differences, mental health, hearing and vision issues. It's just not obvious most of the time to the onlooker, right? And that's a big part of it. If you think about, big illnesses, any mental health conditions, autism, diabetes, MS, there's a whole host of fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, all these things where I oftentimes even people with visible disabilities where you can see it, it's that underlying pain, or I think about with paralysis when I always say, oh, paralysis means you can't feel anything. Well, actually, you hear the opposite for people who are living with paralysis. There's a lot of times they have pain that is a big part of it, right? It's a big aspect of it.
Everybody's different. Everybody's coming with their unique story, abilities, you
Right.
name it. So, it's just so I'm a big believer of whenever in doubt, always just ask, because it provides a learning opportunity.
Yeah, who's the expert? You. Right.
So I would love for you to also share any kind of memorable moments or stories with your organization that kind of has had a lasting impact on you.
Wow, memorable story. So one of the things we do every year, we have a big kind of a celebration, award celebration, and just the stories of the people that are a part of that. We give perseverance awards, right, for somebody who's persevered. I remember a time a friend of mine. His name is Antarctic Mike. He ran marathons in the Antarctic and stuff. Well, it was his wife that was really his inspiration. And she was in a climbing accident when she was in her 20s. A friend of hers said, hey, try out my new climbing harness. Okay, if anybody ever asked you to do that, don't, okay? But, don't try. And she fell and broke, 100 bones but if you looked at her here 25 years later, you wouldn't know by looking at her. You wouldn't see that, all the problems she's had internally with her organs, the problems she's had with walking. But what was amazing to me is she goes, Wayne, I didn't know I could win an award for being a train wreck, is what she said. And I said, well, you don't win the award. It's bestowed upon you because of the perseverance that you go through on a regular basis. And so that's just one of the many stories we hear every day. But the sad thing is, Josh, that we hear is the stories of the disbelief, where they've been abandoned by their friends and family because, oh, you're just going through a midlife crisis, or, chronic fatigue. Yeah, I'm tired too. You're just making it up. Or, oh, you're depressed. Well, just snap out of it. You'll get better. If you just go out into the fresh air, it'll go away. Those are things the stories that we hear every day.
And the reality is if you could flip a switch to fix everything, people would love that, but that's not the world we live in.
Right.
And it's tough. It's so hard when, so often people are like, if I don't see it, I won't believe it. But it's there. It's not, nobody wants to make this stuff up. Nobody wants to live with these type of things. And it's until it impacts you or someone that you really care about, and then you finally kind of get it and understand that this is not make believe, or this is not trying to take advantage of the system.
Well, tying into that, I think of, people will say, well, you just want attention. And that's why, and I think, well, it's the one thing you don't get attention on. Everybody leaves. It's, if you wanted attention, don't ask for a disability. It doesn't happen, right? People may notice somebody in a wheelchair and give them some extra attention maybe, or something like that. But if you can't see it and it's invisible, yeah, you don't get the attention. The other thing is people will say all they ever want to do is talk about their illness. And what I say is that's because you're not listening to them and believing them. Once you do that, guess what? They don't want to talk about it anymore. They have to live with it. Why would they want to talk about it?
They want to move forward. And so much of being able to live as actively as possible is being able to have, someone believe you, having reasonable accommodations, giving yourself an even playing field. And so much within that world. I love asking the question, what first comes to mind when you hear the word accessibility?
Right. It's wheelchair, right? I mean, that's a wheelchair. One of the things we're doing at Invisible Disabilities is we're actually creating a new symbol. And this symbol is this is a symbol for disability for anybody. It doesn't matter wheelchair or no wheelchair, any of those things. It's not an accessibility symbol, which is really what the wheelchair was designed for. And our goal is this is a person and a person living with a disability, right? And so that is one of the things that we're truly, that's our big message as an organization, is really to help bring a visible representation to a disability and believe that it's real. Accommodations you think about, let's just talk about accessible parking, right? Accessible parking is really designed, it's got a curb cut out, it's accessible for a wheelchair, but a lot of times we forget how hard it is for somebody with an invisible disability. Maybe they can't walk very far, they don't use a wheelchair, but we put the parking space like half a block away because it's got a curb cut out and it's accessible. So, we don't think about all the aspects of the different people that might be using that space.
And the truth is that, it's so important to not judge a book by its cover. I know it's hard to sometimes because we're emotional people. But there are far fewer people trying to abuse the system than the reality of people that are doing it.
Exactly right. Yes.
And it's giving them people the benefit of the doubt and being able to respect, love, and not just try to put out their kind of frustration or anger before truly knowing the full picture.
Well, the last line in our pamphlet about accessible parking, I love the last line. The person you're graciously trying to defend, right? It's a justice issue. The person you're graciously trying to defend may be standing in front of you, right? And so that's where the don't judge by a book by its cover. We have no idea that maybe the person can walk in, but they can't walk back out because it's too far to walk. Or maybe they have to be near their car because of other reasons. They got to be able to get to their car quickly. There's a whole host of different reasons that we may not understand. And it's not just about the ability to walk necessarily, why they have that. Or they can't find their car and they need to know where their car is. There's all these different things that can impact why they need to have that spot. And as you well know, you got to go through a doctor, you got to do all these things to get it. And a lot of people don't want to even park there when it's something that they should be doing because they need that ability to be closer to the store or to the business.
And if everyone could do one thing to make the world a little bit more inclusive or to do better, what advice would you give the world?
Yeah, it's really about believing people. Our theme this year for our organization is Care in Motion. Listen, believe, and support. It's take time to listen, believe what it's shared, and then support as needed. Because sometimes the listening and the believing is what people need, right? And it's really just believing people. When somebody shares something they're going through difficulty, even though it may not look like it or we have other ideas, just believe them. And then the life will go a lot better. And if they need help, ask them, how may you help them? And they may say, I don't need help. Or they may say, they may wear their lanyard like this and they walk into the store and say, I need help. That's why I'm showing this. You don't need to know what my disability is or why I need help. You just know I need help, so ask me.
Yeah, and coming into the store, it's like, I need help. Guess what? I want to be a paying customer. Help me become a paying customer.
Right.
Provide me the services I need to make sure that I get fitted or I get the right product or service I need to better my life, and then also to be able to thank you for being a great business. So tying into that with the business community, what are some of the biggest current gaps that you have been witness to, and what can be done better to prioritize kind of access and inclusion within businesses?
Well, I think that one of the things we're trying to do, even with our what we call our National Disability ID, is really for people to get that ID and to get businesses to recognize it. So give an example, my wife wanted to go into a department store and the department store did not have scooters available. And we're like, why don't you have scooters? You have them. They actually had a mannequin in a wheelchair. And we're like, well, okay, disability is important to you. So what does my wife need to do when she comes into your store? Well, she needs to go back to the customer service, which is in the back of the store, basically, and ask for help. And they will give a stock person to push her around. And I'm like, I don't think my wife wants a stock boy to push her around in women's clothing, right? So I think it's really reaching. Businesses need to talk to their community that they're supporting and ask how may they help, not think, well, hey, this is the way you're supposed to help us do this, and we're just going to go along those ways. They really need to ask their customers, how may I help you? And that's why with our National Disability ID, we're trying to do is to provide that visibility so the businesses can be educated and become what I call a disability-friendly business, right? And we need a sticker on the window that says, I'm a disability-friendly business. When you come in, we'll ask you, how may we help you? And if you don't need help, that's okay too.
And that just shows that they get it if they've been able to like go through that and really understand and have the right conversations, put the right system in place to create better experiences, because we all want better experiences wherever we're going.
Right, and we all know that if somebody's driving slow on the highway or somebody's walking slow in a crosswalk, we don't make assumptions that they're just messing with our time. We don't know what they're going through and what it took to get into the car, what it took to walk that crosswalk, to get to the store. Just being a little bit more patient, like you said, don't judging a book by its cover, thinking, hey, there's times where maybe I'm going through a tough time even today because of my health or whatever. Let's assume that on the good side of people, and that people they're really trying to just make it through life, right?
Yeah. Wayne, I just want to thank you so much today for being our guest on accessiBe's Spotlight Sessions. I learned a lot, and I know our viewers learned a lot, and thank you for all that you do.
Well, I appreciate it, and I hope people go to invisibledisabilities.org so they can really learn more about how they can be more believing in people.
Everybody go to invisibledisabilities.org. Everybody hit that subscribe button. Everybody follow accessiBe on our social media at accessiBe_community. And again, thank you for staying to the end, and thank you, Wayne, for being our guest today.
You're welcome, and we love accessiBe.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.